Blockchain has been around since the evolution of Bitcoin way back in 2008. In the early days, the focus remained largely on the cryptocurrency itself and not so much the technology behind it. However, things have changed, and while Bitcoin prices may continue to break into uncharted territory, the technology behind Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that have since been launched is all the rave. Today we have with us Mr. Irfan Khan, who is an expert in the field of blockchain. Irfan is the founder today of Hypermine, which is building cryptographic products for access security and blockchains with a special focus on machine learning for distributed systems. Ladies and gentlemen, to enlighten us about this game-changing technology that we call blockchain, once again, a big round of applause and welcome for Irfan Khan. Have a good one.
So the internet solved a lot of problems as we know it today. But although Internet 2.0 solved all these problems, it created a lot of problems alongside it. One of the biggest problems that the internet created was trust. What is trust? Who do you trust on the internet? Who's updating Wikipedia articles? Where is your data going? Where is your emails being stored? Tomorrow, if Google goes down, if Hotmail goes down, everything is gone. Transparency. The internet is not transparent. You don't know how your data is being processed. The biggest problem that the internet created was probably centralization. What is decentralization? It is the process by which a central authority is diluted of its power and distributed to the masses. Decentralization is brought about in three processes: infrastructure, policy, and management. The infrastructure essentially allowing decentralization to occur in more than one place. The policy of actually creating decentralized nodes and where action is going to happen over a distributed area, and the management of those nodes. So now we'll talk about blockchain. How does blockchain fit into the picture? Okay. By traditionally or legacy systems, everything was centralized. So if you look at all the banks, governments, all those huge old corporation buildings with all these closed out, no windows, dark data centers, everything is centralized into one place, into one box. You then move into a slightly modern times where you have distributed systems where Google, Facebook, they have their data centers spread all across the globe, right? With the same data being hosted everywhere. But the problem on the left side is that although they may be available in a lot of different places, if one goes down, the other data center will still take over. The policy and management and the decision-making is still happening in a centralized manner. The place where we want to reach is on the right-hand side here, which is the decentralized, where policy management and creation of an infrastructure where everything is done in mass and not by one centralized authority. So all you guys have a computer at home. But the fact of the matter remains that that computer you have sitting in your house or in your bag or your laptop or whatever, it's an independent computer. It's always going to be alone by itself unless you plug it into the internet, which then allows you to connect. Now imagine if we are all sitting in this room, are the world. There's nobody else, it's just us. And all the hardware that you have in your hands, in your homes, in your bags, is not your hardware. Yes, it belongs to you, it sits in your house. But all that hardware comes together as one hardware. So we're talking about one big supercomputer. So every time you go out there and add a hard drive to your computer, you are contributing to the storage space of the one big supercomputer. The more RAM you add, you are increasing the processing power of that one big supercomputer. It belongs to nobody, but it belongs to everybody. It's the nerve cell of humanity. It will create computing power. It will create computing infrastructure. It will create computing freedom to be able to create applications that cannot be stopped. No government control. Even if a company shuts down, it doesn't matter because these are decentralized networks. They are running on the one world supercomputer. So even if half of this class gets destroyed, God forbid, even if half of this class gets destroyed, the other half of the network is still surviving. And that data is available all throughout the network. The processing power is available all throughout that network. So this is what the blockchain is. So now when you have so many people owning one big computer, it has to be secure. Cryptography. Anyone know what hashing is? Hashing is the foundation of what blockchains are based on. It has to be immutable and traceable. It cannot be stopped because it doesn't belong to one person, doesn't belong to one company, doesn't belong to one government. It belongs to all of us. It's ours and everyone else's at the same time. So it has to be immutable. It has to be traceable. If you or me make a change on it, everyone has to know that this change has been made. And how has it been made? When has it been made? It has to be decentralized. Either you or your principal or your head of department cannot take a decision without your approval, without your contribution, without your support. Everyone has to be involved. It's distributed. All the information is available with everyone all the time. It's not hidden. I mean, you can hide it if you want, of course, but the data is not hidden. Smart contracts. I'm sure you've heard about smart contracts. It's just to make sure that that application that is up there is doing what it's supposed to do. It's just a basic if and else statements logic code. Consensus. Consensus is really old. It goes back in time to kings and queens and how they would lobby and how they would find philosophical and strange ways to get people to come to agreement so that they can make a change. So when you have this one world supercomputer that everyone owns, you have to arrive at consensus. How do you arrive at consensus? How do you do that? There are algorithms that do this, so please go out there, do your homework, do your research, and try to understand how consensus is affecting this global computing phenomenon. Peer-to-peer. What is peer-to-peer? Today, when you book a cab, are you really booking a cab? No, you're not really booking a cab. You are requesting Uber to book a cab for you. And believe me, Uber is not good at that, by the way. They screw it up all the time. Right, so what the blockchain is doing that we don't need Uber anymore, we don't need Facebook anymore, we don't need Google anymore, because we have this one world supercomputer and you will directly book a taxi or a cab or a ride or order your food or order your clothes, whatever, directly from your friend, from your family, from people around you. So the blockchain is the operating system for the one world supercomputer. The DAO. The DAO is the promise of the blockchain. Decentralized autonomous organization, an organization represented by rules encoded in a computer or program that is transparent, controlled by shareholders, and not influenced by a central authority. Nobody can stop Bitcoin. Nobody. Unless there is a collective consensus that they have to shut the network down and everyone has to agree on it. So you have essentially three types of blockchains. One is a public blockchain, which is basically Bitcoin and Ethereum. Anyone and everyone can plug in. I mean, you can go and download the application at home today and just plug into it and start using it. Companies are always concerned about public They don't want to put their data out there. They don't want to be involved in these sort of cowboy-type free areas, right? So they took the same code, and they created an enterprise or a company version of it, which can be used for companies, so it's closed. And there's a hybrid blockchain. So the main difference between these three is the public blockchain is anyone and everyone can just buy hardware, install the application, and go. The private blockchains are, so you need to be part of a company, so you have Maersk or Coca-Cola or banks, these big banks, they're creating their own closed networks, so not everyone can join. And the hybrid networks which are in between, such as Ripple, where yes, you can join, but you need permission from a central authority, from the CEO of the company or whatever it is, right? Financial incentives to alter user behavior. And that's what cryptocurrency is. It's an incentive scheme. It's a loyalty program. Each cryptocurrency belongs to a network. Each of these logos you're seeing up there, there are thousands and thousands now. A lot of them are scams. Be careful. But what you have to understand is each of them are standing for something. There is a reason that they are there. Try to understand what each of these cryptocurrencies stand for. And if you agree with that philosophy behind them, please go ahead and buy some. A government which is inherently, or by definition, a centralized authority, a centralized identity, a centralized entity in itself that likes to consolidate power into one place. Why would they support a technology that is completely antithesis of centralization? Please understand this. This is the reason why so many governments are against. They don't want to get too involved in supporting decentralization. It's their jobs at line. But there are governments who are using it. They are breaking it down into little pieces and using it for their own purposes. Like if you look at the Andhra Pradesh government, they are, I think, managing land records. So they're issuing land records on the blockchain, so it cannot be changed. I think West Bengal, they're issuing birth certificates. But no one's talking about how to bring voting on the blockchain. If it's so tamper-proof, why don't you bring voting on the blockchain? Two main functions of artificial intelligence or machine learning is classification and prediction. And this is what everyone is trying to solve. Everyone is trying to solve one machine that can classify and predict. Classification and prediction of data is what makes us possible to do what we do as human beings. When we look at something, we can classify that this is a chair, we can classify this is a plant. And then based on that classification, we can predict what is going to happen to this plant. Is it small? Is it going to grow? Is it going to die? Is it going to live? Is the human being sick? So that is the human being psychological process, and that is what we are training machines to do. So I want to close this talk here. Please take time out, understand where this is headed, get involved in technology, get involved in psychology, get involved in the socioeconomic impact. We live in very interesting times. We are in the thick of change right now, in the thick of it. Don't let this change encompass you. You encompass the change.